afternoon. First of all, I would like to thank Dr. Rashid for the invitation and for the organization of this event. It has been a really interesting presentation during the morning. During today's presentation, this afternoon's presentation, I would like to really highlight two elements that really matters regarding energy efficiency. Energy efficiency as the major driver to mitigate climate change, and energy efficiency as a sound financial investment that public and private organizations can make here in the UAE. So let me start quickly with energy efficiency from the environmental point of view, how energy efficiency will help us to mitigate the climate change. During the conversations of the Paris Agreement, it became clear that in order to avoid catastrophic effects in the Earth, we need to keep the rise of the temperature below 2 degrees as compared with pre-industrial temperatures. Now you can see in this graph 3 lines. The red one is the business as usual. So it looks like a huge amount of CO2 emissions and obviously increasing temperature. The second line is related with the pledges, with the commitments made by the different countries during the Paris Agreement. If we just follow those commitments, the rise in temperature will reach almost 3.5 degrees. And the lower one, obviously, is the one that the Paris Agreement is trying to target to keep the rise in temperatures below 2 degrees. So there's a huge gap between what is happening today and what we need to do in order to avoid the climate change. And not surprisingly, energy efficiency has been identified as one of the major drivers to mitigate that change. A recent report by the International Energy Agency basically showed that energy efficiency can account for almost 50% of the CO2 emissions reduction needed in order to mitigate the climate change. Another way to look at it is through this graph, which basically shows the CO2 emissions reduction as compared to the cost of basically achieving those CO2 emissions reductions. So you can see on the left side, most of them are related with energy efficiency. On the right side are other solutions more related with renewables. And you can see that just by investing in energy efficiency, you can even offset the cost of other initiatives aiming to reduce the CO2 emissions reduction. Yeah? So it's not only itself a very interesting proposition, but as a package can also bring other solutions into the field in order to reduce the CO2 emissions reduction. In the UAE, with the current growth projections in terms of energy demand, obviously it becomes very important in our agenda to mitigate and to reduce the actual energy consumption. So you can see that it is estimated that we will grow by almost 100% in the next 10 years. And buildings, and particularly commercial and residential buildings, account for more than 70% of the electricity demand. So therefore, this is the major focus in order to obviously reduce the total energy demand and again to fight against the climate change. Just to give you an idea of what is the scope for improvements when it talks about energy efficiency in existing buildings, this graph shows 2 buildings of one of our customers based in Abu Dhabi, in the head office and another building. And it gives the idea of how much energy they consume per square meter per year. And you can see there that these 2 buildings were about 350 kilowatts per square meter per year. You can find there what is the UAE average in orange color. What would be the energy performance index required in order to be LEED certified? And what would be a best practice, not in Germany, not in other countries, here in the UAE? It is the Dubai Chamber of Commerce, which is actually consuming less than 200 kilowatts hour per square meter per year. So you can see it's less than 50% of what is consuming the other buildings in the same country, same use. All of these buildings are office buildings.